I'm very impressed. All right. So, yeah, as I said, welcome everyone to this event, and thank you all for joining. So basically, this is in part a culmination of two processes that resulted in publications that the Cities Alliance was involved with our partners, SDI and IIED, as well as on the second publication with our colleagues at GIZ. And essentially, we kind of realized that we had put out these really exciting pieces of work that I think had a really strong perspective and really represented a lot of information and experiences coming from local communities and slums and informal settlements about climate action, about urban innovation. And we hadn't really thought about the fact that we should launch these and celebrate and disseminate and share this information. So thus was born this idea to do this webinar. But we also, I think, realized that as we started to plan it, doing kind of just a traditional format of a webinar maybe didn't really respond to the current context that we're in. And, we wanted to really take an opportunity to still highlight the work that's being done and share these publications with people. And we'll put the links in the chat. And we really would encourage everyone to take a look at them, but also really have a realistic chance to reflect and discuss about the current global context in terms of the geopolitical landscape and what this means in terms of having effective climate action on the ground in local communities, in cities, in slums, and informal settlements. I assume that if you're here, then you probably already believe that this is an important area of work. So I don't think we're not gonna spend a lot of time, I think, trying to convince why it's important to climate action in slums and informal settlements. Instead, we're really gonna focus on we're going to have a format that has three sections. So the first is to celebrate, and we have four incredible examples that come from, that show meaningful and inspiring climate work that's ongoing in slums in four countries: Zimbabwe, Tanzania, Zambia, and Benin. Then we're going to take a moment to reflect. We're going to share a little bit about the process, what came out of these publications, a little bit of how we see these could be utilized, and why we felt it was important to capture this information. And then the last section will be a discussion. So we'll have a chance to discuss. And we really want to get into some of the issues about how changes in the global landscape are affecting people's ability to do work, how we may need to sort of change some of our messaging or package things differently or showcase what we're doing, how we can talk to different audiences, what are some ways that we can work together as a community from different angles to tackle what is a very difficult landscape right now. And I think, it's also important to reflect on the fact that, funding was already extremely limited for cities, for local communities, for the urban poor. Cities Alliance actually put out a report last year where we analyzed the global climate funds. We found that only 3.5% of the funding from the global climate funds went for projects that were focused on cities with any focus on the urban poor. So it didn't even mean the full project was. It just mean that it recognized the issues of poverty in cities. And so, I think a lot of people are reflecting now on what the changes in the funding and financing landscape may mean for climate action. But, this was already a very kind of neglected area in terms of funding. And yet, as we know, I think everyone on this call probably recognizes that there's a lot of incredible work that is happening on the ground. And, we are always impressed with what people are able to achieve. I'm going to ask everyone to mute themselves, but I also might go through and mute people if I can find the buttons to do it. Sorry. And, we really, I think, we wanted to take this time to celebrate what's going on. So with that in mind, oh, I forgot to introduce myself, which I do all the time, and I apologize for that. So my name is Julie Greenwald. I'm the Senior Climate Advisor at the Cities Alliance. I once again want to recognize that all of these these two publications were collaborative efforts that brought together Slum Dwellers International, IIED, and in the case of the second one, GIZ, and they were both the results of these longer processes, as I said. The second publication was from a online series, and the first publication came out of an exchange that we had in Sierra Leone last year, bringing together 9 organizations working on climate action in the global South. And so, you know, they aren't just publications in terms of a research project, but they really engage with like larger ideas of learning and practice on the ground. So with all of that said, I'm going to introduce our 4 celebrants who are going to share a little bit more about what their organizations have done. So the first, and so we're going to go a little out of order. I know a lot of times it goes in alphabetical order, and that means, you know, our friends with countries from Z always end up going last, but we're going to change it up a little bit. So we're going to kick off first with Sheila Muganyi from the SDI Zimbabwe Federation, and she's going to share a bit about the Urban Poor Fund that they've been working on. And yeah, over to you, Sheila.
Thank you so much. So my name is Sheila Muganyi, a member of the Zimbabwe Municipals Federation. So I'm just going to give background, or I'm going to introduce the Gungano Urban Poor Fund, which I'm linking it with the community-led approaches to inclusive and climate-sensitive urban development.
In the middle of winter.
So yeah, I've got a very short outline.
Did we yield anything from that? No. Exactly. Because it was
Let's join the call. Sorry, Sheila, we had a slight delay, but we got your slides up now, I think.
All right, okay. Thank you. So I've got a very short outline, which I'm going to talk about what is Gungano Urban Poor Fund, why an Urban Poor Fund, the uses of Gungano Urban Poor Fund, the examples and activities that will be shown on the slides. And I'm also going to talk about who owns and manages the funds, and also where we have reached as Gungano Urban Poor Fund. Then lastly, I'll talk about the impact and success of the Gungano Urban Poor Fund. When we talk of Gungano Urban Poor Fund, I'll explain what Gungano, the word, means. It was derived from the Shona word gathering. This was reflecting the fund's focus on community savings and solidarity. Its purpose is to empower low-income urban communities by providing access to finance and resources for inclusive and climate-sensitive slum upgrading interventions. So on this one, usually our communities are often overlooked by the mainstream microfinance institutions like the banks and other institutions. So this fund's aim is to fill those gaps by supporting community projects that enhance living conditions, community resilience, and promote sustainability. The structure of Gungano, this fund operates through a combination of women-led daily and weekly savings meetings where members pool their savings, which are combined with funds from donors and used to provide loans. And it's the Gungano Urban Poor Fund demonstrates a revolving model of how community-based savings and loan programs can effectively address the challenges of urban poverty and improve the living conditions of low income residents. So you can see the pictures. I've tried to put more pictures so that people will see what we mean when we talk of Gungano Urban Poor Fund. When I talked about the gaps that we have seen, especially on the communities that are often overlooked by mainstream microfinance, you can see that picture Most of the settlements here in Zimbabwe, the informal settlements here in Zimbabwe do not have addresses. Some do not have bank accounts. Some people do not have bank accounts. So this is the reason why they are overlooked. And they are safe. You can see the old lady with selling vegetables. The other ones have got gardens and tomatoes. So these communities are excluded from other finance institutions like the government, like I said before. Some of the community members do not have bank accounts. I talked about this. So these are opportunities that come through community collaboration with each other when you talk of Gungano Urban Poor Fund. The revolving funds requirements for eligibility, even without a bank account or home address, the Urban Poor Fund can also cater for the community members. And we were also talking of issues of affordability, the interest percentage that can be afforded by everyone, every member. And also we talk of period of loan repayment. Then this slide is talking about the uses of Urban Poor Fund, the interventions that are supported by Gungano. We are trying to, the Urban Poor Fund is trying to address the unique challenges of urban poverty. We are talking of inclusive and climate sensitive slum upgrading, where we are talking of housing, we are talking of water and sanitation. We are also talking of resilient houses. We are talking of livelihoods. We are talking of trainings and more. And also, we are also talking of solar and settlement-based energy. We talk of water harvesting. I also talked about food security, where we are talking of irrigation and urban agriculture that uses less water, backyard gardens. And also on these ones, especially on our youths, we are talking of the greening initiatives. So these are, the next slides are just the examples of the activities that are funded or supported by the Gungano Urban Poor Fund. So if you can see that, that is a Kariba garden that is helping people. And also that is a group of youths that were trained to make freezits. And those are also people constructing toilets in their settlements. And on the next slide, there is a Hauna tank for, this is in Manicaland province. This is being constructed. It's still being constructed by the Federation community members, including other non-Federation members. This one is actually for water harvesting, and they are collectively building it using Gungano savings. Gungano Urban Poor Fund is owned and managed by the members of the Federation using their bottom-up structures. The structures start from the group level up to the national level. So each decision is made by every member in the Federation and every member that contributes to the Gungano Urban Poor Fund. It has also expanded to non-Federation members. When we talk of city funds, the city funds is also accommodate other non-Federation members, where they also have a structure from the Federation, and loan officers also help in collecting and managing the fund. Gungano Urban Poor Fund is found in 63 cities here in Zimbabwe, in almost 183 settlements. Total savings of the groups 786. The total savers so far, including the youths, are 17,000. And a total number reached, including non-Federation members who have benefited from this fund, 151,380. So we are also talking about the livelihoods, trainings, housing, and land allocations. On this last slide, I'm talking of the impact and the success of Gungano Urban Poor Fund, where Gungano has tried to improve 3,586 households in terms of water and sanitation. We are talking of 2024 and 2025. And households with improved energy are also 3,892. We are talking also on improved economic livelihoods, including non-federation. From 2024 up to now, it's the number has increased to 9,000. And members who have been allocated land, including people who have been who have self-allocated, people who've been allocated by the local authority, and some where we call them the Sabuku deals. The number is almost 3,200. Then when we talk of members with improved housing or secure tenure, we are talking of 3,600 within 2024 and 2025. Then the number of current loans are 106,000. So in short, this was my introduction to the Gungano Urban Poor Fund. Thank you so much. Maybe my colleagues from Zimbabwe can add. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sheila. It's always wonderful to see what Zimbabwe is doing. And as I mentioned, we know that it's hard to get funding down to the local level and to households, and it's really amazing to see the impact that you all have had. I'm going to ask people if they have questions to put them in the chat for now. We will have a chance for the discussion if you have specific questions for each of the presenters. But for now, if you can put them in the chat, if you don't want to forget them, that would be great. And yes, I do want to recognize there are several other colleagues from Zimbabwe on the call, and we thank you all for joining. And yeah, this is a celebration because you all are doing incredible work. So we're going to move up north to the coast to Tanzania, and I'm going to call on Teresia Ntanga from the Center for Community Initiatives to go next.
Okay, thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Teresia Ntanga from Center for Community Initiative. Center for Community Initiative is a nonprofit organization established in 2004 in Tanzania for supporting low-income communities who live in unplanned settlement. The Tanzania, hello? Can you go to next slide, please?
Yes.
Yeah. So Center for Community Initiative, mobilize the community to form the small saving groups, which known as Tanzania Federation for the Urban Poor. So Tanzania Federation for the Urban Poor and the CCI now in Tanzania, we are in 8 cities. That is Dar es Salaam, Arusha, Dodoma, Mwanza, Morogoro, Mara, Tanga, and Zanzibar. And we are working in informal settlement to support community initiative on different projects, including hygiene, water and sanitation, climate change, land housing and shelter, and other development activities. As you know, in informal settlement, the area is a very faced with so many challenges, including the challenge of the impact of climate change, such as flooding, extreme heat, poor sanitation, and also this area is the lack of formal planning, and they have limited infrastructure, and most of their activities are informal economic activities. Yeah, you can go to another slide because sometimes I couldn't say, yeah. I also already explained about the informal settlement, so we can go to the group mobilization. So the group mobilizations was done in this area of informal settlement where the community are mobilized to take action toward a specific goal or objective. And this process involves raising awareness and encouraging the collective action on the effect of the climate change. And also the community are mobilized to form these groups, daily saving groups, where they used to discuss their challenges and comes up with solution. These saving groups, which are mobilized, next slide, saving groups, they have to do saving and the weekly meeting. On their saving, they used to do daily saving and contributing to their development fund known as a Tanzania Urban Poor Fund or Jenga Fund. This fund is a revolving fund for supporting development activities and the project initiated by the by federation from their informal settlement. Federation also they do they capacitated federation strengthening, I mean. So the groups are capacitated through meeting, workshop, training, and exchange visit to learn from others. And this exchange visit, local exchange visit, and the national and international exchange visit. And it helped the community to understand and to share the ideas on what others they do or what they did. And when they come back to their settlement, they practice what they learn for the development issues. Federation also they do data collection and profiling. It is one of the methods that make the federation be unique network because they are not professional or they are not educated much. I mean, it's like academia, but they are from urban, they are urban poor, who others they are not educated at all, but they can manage to collect data, to analyze data, and to interpret data. They use those data and which they obtain during profiling and enumeration to do advocacy, to raise up their voices on what they want or what is the problems which they face. So they want people to understand their problems and to support them or to give them the way, what they're supposed to do to solve those challenges which they face. In the advocacy also, they use advocacy in the different levels. They can do advocacy at the local level in their settlement, but sometimes to the national level, city level, national level, up to international level through the meetings, the workshop, and they sometimes sharing the ideas during the meetings, like that. Now I'm going also to share to demonstrate the slum community initiatives on climate change. The community also, through those process where they used to collect data and sharing ideas, they initiate different small activities which used to adapt. They adapt the climate change, the impact of climate change. Like you see here, there is a community who are doing the watering, the seeding, mangrove seeding. So they use the mangrove as a livelihood project. But this is not only for supporting them to get some income, but also it contributes to the impact to the global level according to what they do. So they watering the mangrove seeding and they sell seeding to their neighbors to plant along the seashores to prevent the environment. And also in the mangrove, also they do the planting the mangrove along seashores, and also they do the the beekeeping in that mangrove forest. So the beekeeping also supports the federations to get on their livelihood or on their economic activities to get their income. Also, they are engaged in the tree planting and the gardening and urban farming. This is to support them to adapt the impact of climate change on heat during the heat. So others they come up with a adaptation of using the bag ceiling to reduce the heat inside the house. This is an adaptation from the climate change, where the communities can adapt. And
Teresi, I'm giving you a 1 minute warning.
Okay, yeah. So can you go to next slide? So there is another adaptation where the federations they use cleaning levers and building embankment to prevent flooding in the settlement, and they also access the weather informations by using a simple language where community can lead and can share the information in the community board where everyone can pass and lead. And also the community, they adapted the affordable housing for the low income earners. This affordable housing is is building by material which is friendly to the environment, because during the heat, when you enter inside of this house, it is a warm. During the heat, when you go inside, it is cool, and during the cold, when you enter inside, you feel the warm. So it is a very friendly to the environment, and the federations they build it for their own. And also the federation adapts access to water, whereas the community, Tanzania federations, they manage water utility for the sustainability. So the project it is contributing to the impact of the climate change as well, because during the drought they can access water, and the rainwater harvesting also adapted by the community to reduce the flooding within their settlement, and also it is they can access water for drinking from the rain. Also the access to sanitation, where the federations, they can use plastic bottles to construct the toilet. This toilet it can be constructed in different kind of technology. It is in EcoSan toilet, and also there is biofuel toilet. Also they can construct by using that use the plastic bottles, and also there is some can you go to next slide so then I can finish? So the biofuel toilet technology, this toilet also use worms to digest the fecal matter, so it is also friendly to the environment. And also there is another kind of is a innovation where the federation does. This is a biogas plant where the fecal matter, many toilets connected to one DWAT plant where it produces biogas for cooking. So the federation also supporting the cooking energy, green cooking energy through this project. And also the government of Tanzania recognized them through this project and inviting them to different events. And this is another one is a PT emptying by using grouper technology. This is technology used to empty the toilet.
I hate to do this. I hate to do this because you're doing so much in Tanzania, but
yeah, this is I'm going to finish because I think we have to slide. So this is a grouper technology. It is used to empty the toilet from the informal settlement where it gets full. So the big truck can't penetrate within the informal settlement. So the community adapts this kind of technology where they can empty their toilet by using this grouper technology. And also the community also do the solar project within their areas. This provides employment to the youth, and also the water project can be used a solar pump. And also the Federation of Tanzania use a livelihood and entrepreneurship for the supporting the initiative and the sustainability of the group, because when they do all the intervention, all the process, needs them to make them to be active. It means that they're supposed to have something to do, like in livelihood or entrepreneurship, in order to motivate them and encourage them to have a weekly meeting or to meet every time, to discuss and have something which can make them busy for sustainable development. And this also can enable them to support other projects within their environment. As we see the picture here, there is a milling machine, and is a one who deal with a sewing business, and also the easy beekeeping. They adapted, they use the bucket to make the beehive as a beehive, as you see there. And the other project, there is a federation also got support of beehives for beekeeping in the mangrove. So thank you. I think this is because I have to go fast, so I didn't.
I know you were racing, but you did an excellent job. Thank you, Teresia. So much to share. We really appreciate it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. It's incredible what Tanzania is accomplishing. You have so many different activities going on, and yeah, I think I apologize for rushing you, making my life a bit difficult. A couple of things. Again, if you have any questions for Teresia for Tanzania, you can add them in the chat. Also, Sheila and I think Patience is on the call from Zimbabwe. There are questions in the chat for you if you're able to respond to them by typing. Otherwise, we'll have a chance to revisit them at the end. All right, so we heard from the ladies. Now we're going to switch over to the gentlemen. We're going to go back down south to Zambia, and we have McTavish joining us, and he's going to talk about some of the work that you all are doing in Zambia for building resilient communities.
Hi, everybody. Hope I'm audible enough.
We can hear you. Go.
All right. So thank you for having me today. So just want to share a few work that we're doing in Zambia as the Federation, working with People's Process on Housing and Poverty in Zambia. So first talk about the socio-economic status and also an introduction of the challenges that we have, and also the special relationship that we have as the Federation working with PPHPZ, and some of the interventions and the outcomes and potential opportunities that we see workable within our state. So we can move. So we can move to the next slide. Okay, so we have quite a number of, I don't know if it's one of the biggest, I haven't checked the number of population in other countries, but we have over 20 million people that live in Zambia, and it is a rapid urbanizing country with an estimated 40% being urban and 70% of which are urban dwellers. So most of these people, majority are the youths and women, and actually it's a timely opportunity to have the Federation work in a state such as Zambia, because majority of the people are young people as well as women. So we can move. Okay, so we face quite a number of challenges in Zambia, looking at the bigger percentage of the people living in informal settlement. So the first one that I'll talk about is cholera outbreak. That saw about 600 people die. So there are quite a number of factors that brings about cholera one of which is poor sanitation facilities, and also majority of the people in informal settlement actually use shower wells as well as pit latrine toilets. So cholera has been quite a challenge. We usually have it each and every year because of the sanitation conditions, and also where people just draw their water for use to drink and stuff. Then the other outbreak that we have had is anthrax outbreak. I think majority of people till now in the informal settlement are still trying to grasp and understand what this disease is, because usually most of information is quite challenging to reach the people who stay in the informal settlement. Then I think drought, we have had the worst drought ever experienced in Zambia in the past 2 years, and which saw about more than 10 million people affected, because
McTavish,
we never had water.
you cut out for just a second, but you're back.
Okay, yeah. So these are some of the challenges that drought brought about in the state, because we never had water in a number of houses. We never had power to run our small-scale businesses. Farming wasn't done by a number of farmers, because usually the people who live in rural areas were unable to farm. So meaning even the people in the capital city, in the urban part of the state, we have quite a number of farmers in the country for them to produce crops that would benefit majority of the Zambians. So a recent year, just now, I think last year and this year, we have had floods that saw to it that even we had recorded a number of deaths. So it was quite a big challenge, of which some of the people that follow our Know Your City platform have seen how floods has affected Zambia. Because just a quick story that we're covering of a certain crippled woman who actually died in her home after the house was flooded and a stick was moved by the floods. So these are some of the issues that we have faced in Zambia. So we can move forward. We can move to the next slide. Okay, so on the picture, I think these are some of the issues that we are facing in Zambia, of which one is poor sanitation facility, as you have seen on the picture. The other one is the floods that I'm from just talking about. And usually what causes this, it's because a lack of proper infrastructure in the informal settlement. We don't have drainages, and usually it becomes difficult for just policymakers to just intervene and also just be of help to people in the informal settlement. I don't know if that's how the system is supposed to be, but these are some of the critical challenges that people are facing, of course, brought about by climate change. Then we can go to the next slide. So I now want to talk about some of the interventions that have been put about by the Zambia Homeless and Poor People's Federation, working with PPHPZ. So the first one is saving. So saving has actually been the backbone of the federation in Zambia, because it has become easier now for people to navigate around challenges, looking at the type of savings that they have. I'll give a quick example of the healthy saving, where if you have an healthy challenge, through the healthy saving that you have, you're able to help yourself as well as help people around you. So it has become easy for the federation to navigate around, during difficult challenges, and also just to survive, to help in their livelihood. Then the next one is data collection. So we do quite a number of data collection in our community to ensure that we address some of these challenges. I'll first talk about the floods. One of the things that we did as the Youth Federation, working with the mamas, we went in the community just to get to understand how are the floods affecting the people, what type of initiatives that they are doing, as well as some of the initiatives that they feel the government should do so that we avoid this predicament that keeps happening each and every year. So I think we are actually in the process of coming up with a position paper where the community themselves brought up suggestions and things that I feel can work out in addressing some of these challenges. Then the next one is partnership. So partnership has been a vital means of addressing issues that are happening in the community. As you have seen there, we have women sitting at the green space. So PPHPZ, the federation, working with other different partners, came up with that green space. So this used to be a dumping site where the women are sitting, where it's green. It used to be a dumping space, and the federation advocated to have a green space, a safe space, not just for the women as well as for the youths, where they can do their urban farming, because we have no space in most areas in informal settlements. So where they got to learn about how they can do sack gardening, how they can do different types of initiatives that can help them in their livelihood, as well as them having their savings group meet there. And this amazing place not only addresses the issues of poverty, it's also used by children for entertainment, and also some who want to marry can even use the same space to have their weddings. It brings about that joy in the informal settlement, as well as it helps them address their economic issues that are happening in the community. So, President settings. So I think the Federation working with PPHPZ has been one of the first in Zambia to actually do black soldier fly as well as hydroponics. So hydroponics, this is soilless farming, of which majority of the people thought it's not something that can be done in the informal settlement. But as the federation, I think we have proven that it can be done, because these are initiatives that the women and the young people are spearheading themselves. So the hydroponics, which is actually doing well, we have seen quite a number of organizations come on board to see what the federation are doing, to see what the women are doing, and it has been quite a success. Then we're also exchanges that work so
Tavish,
well.
I don't want to rush you, but
Okay.
I got to give you a
Okay,
1 minute warning here.
Sure. So on the first picture, I think these are some of the houses that the Federation and working with PPHPZ and different partners are coming up with. It's quite difficult for a person living in the informal settlement to come up with, to have a house. But with the Buy a Brick campaign that is being done in Zambia, I think we have seen quite a number of people have houses from the informal settlement through their saving, which is being spearheaded by the Federation. As well as on the next picture, we have seen women playing a part. I think we believe in empowering women and youths in the community, and what men can do, they can also do, as we have seen in the next picture. Maybe we can proceed. Just 2 more slides. Yeah, so that's the hydroponics that doesn't use soil, and also the advantage of the hydroponics is you can recycle water, as you have seen in the picture. They have pipes, and also they recycle the water that they use, and this is spearheaded by the young people in informal settlement. Then we can move to the next slide. And this is the sack garden that the women are doing, which is helping them address their livelihood issues, and they're able to educate their children through what they do. This is at the green space where different women come together to do this initiative. And how the young people, we play a part as the KYC TV. I think we have done quite a nice number of stories that we have shared online, and we have seen such a good feedback from different communities as well as partner organizations who want to see what the federation are doing, who want to learn, and also want to be on the process. Then in the picture, those are black soldier flies, of which are in the informal settlement, what the women are doing, and that's the bokashi manure, because we believe in organic farming and is actually working for the people in Zambia. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, McTavish. Thank you for sharing everything that you all are doing. I know drought has become a big issue, and so it's great to see the water recycling initiatives. And also, I know that you all have done some really amazing advocacy work. So I don't know if you want to share the links to some of your videos that you've done with KYC TV in the chat so that people can check those out, because I know that you're doing a lot of incredible work there. So that takes us, thank you so much. That takes us to our last presenter. We're going to go all the way over to West Africa to take a look at Benin and what's happening there in terms of building an urban poor movement. And we have our colleague Antoine. I hope Antoine is still on the line.
Greetings to you all. I hope you can hear me.
We can hear you. It's a little bit, yeah. Good.
Okay.
Keep going. It's a little echoey, but I think it'll be okay.
Okay, thank you. So my name is Antoine. Go back first, go back. Yeah, my name is Antoine Agosu from SDI Benin. So if I'm talking about SDI Benin, you have to know that it is the Slum Umbrella Federation together with its supporting professional NGO. So when I'm talking about SDI Benin, is the Slum Umbrella Federation and the supporting NGO that form an alliance that is affiliated to SDI. So as the topic is saying, after some years of learning from different SDI affiliates, we decided to build an urban poor movement in Benin. Move on. Next slide. Yeah. So I cannot start without telling you that today we cannot talk about development or climate change without putting or mentioning flood areas. So we are the most concerning by own development and also the most impacted by climate change. We as slum dweller, I have to explain to you quickly our mentality, our value as SDI Benin. So we slum dwellers in Benin, we are ready to find solution to our challenges that we are facing. The reason why we mobilize ourselves, we believe in unity. So we said unity is our strength. We believe that all those challenges that cannot be faced alone can be faced together. So we are working on social inclusion for urban poor development. Secondly, we cannot attack that without collect data on our communities. Because as SDI Benin, we believe that information is our power. When we have information around all those challenges we are facing, and we have a clear knowledge on what are our needs, now we can now attack and find solution to those challenges. And as SDI Benin also, we believe in co-production. We believe that we cannot give response to all our challenges alone. We believe that there are other partners around the world that can contribute to our goal. That is why we believe mobilizing partners who share the same vision with us. Even our governments, they are partner to our federation, to our organization, because we don't go to the government as a beggar, but we go to them as a partner. So also to move on, I think innovation is part of what we are doing, because when we are talking about challenges, we cannot give answers to those challenges without innovations. So we develop and implement ideas and projects which bring solution to urban poor challenges. Move on, please. Yeah, so we start everything with mobilization and organization. We mobilize ourselves. We mobilize ourselves as a saving group, women-led saving group, because we don't just want to talk about our needs, but we want to talk about the co-production of our challenges. We want to co-finance the development that we want. So our saving group are organized in different communities, from the community level to city level, and then we have a national organization that is working together with our supporting NGO, that is IBASEN. Move on. Then, as I was saying, now that we have a national urban poor movement in Benin, we are now working on how can we gather data around the challenges we are facing. Because in SDI, we believe that we cannot do anything without data. So that is why through the program of KYC, that is data collection, we gather information around our community. For which reason? The reason is to identify our challenges, and also the reason is to have this data in order to advocate at the national level and also at international level. So we can also use this data to think about the future of our different communities. So through our data, we now know how climate change is impacting our different community. So we cannot get those information without data collection. So we believe in data collection because it is what can help us to have a clear understanding on our challenges. Move on. Yeah. So as I was also saying, we can give answers to our challenges through innovations. This is part of innovation. We call it a rehousing program in one of our communities that is in Jeffa City. So those people were moved from Blakoji to Jeffa, and when they want to rebuild their houses, we are informed as Federation, as urban poor movement in Benin, and also to fight against climate change. We try to encourage them to use its compressed brick to build their houses, because we believe that with this technology, according to what we learn from different people, I think we can use this type of technology to attack climate change. Move on, please. And also, if we are in slum communities, sometimes and most of times we are treated by forced eviction. So as an urban poor movement in Benin, when there is eviction, we try to mobilize ourselves in order to advocate and engage with our government, maybe to explain, to implement some idea that we think is good for us. So for example, in 2024, we have some eviction treat here in Cotonou, where the government is asking people to move before the 6th of January 2025. And then together with our supporting NGO, with the help of SDI also, we try to drop some advocacy letters, and the government receive us, we discuss with them, and now advocate for the community. From there, we are now engaging with the Benin government in order to implement some innovation that can improve our slums. Move on, please. Yeah. I believe that everything we do, we keep informing the Minister of the Developments, because we are not fighting against them, because we are working as a partner with our government. So we also try to mobilize all the partners, all the activists, CBO, NGOs that fight for the same goal as SDI Benin. So together we organize some activities together. Move on. For example, our cleanup campaign is a long-term project that we are implementing in our different slum communities around Benin. So when we want to do that, we try to mobilize all the stakeholders that are fighting against climate change, and together with them, with their materials, with all we have also, we co-organize this cleanup campaign with our young people involved from different communities. Move on, please.
Antoine, I'm going to give you a 1-minute warning.
Yeah, no problem. So this is kind of a community guiding implemented by one of our saving group. Move on in order to give response to their poverty. So quickly, I will also let you know that despite all those things we are doing, there are challenges that we are facing. If, as we are engaged, as we are motivated to attack the climate issues, to attack the own development issues, if we can have access to the funding that can help us to implement all our program, I think we will upgrade our slum and fight climate change. Move on to finish, please. Yeah, so we now have a strong urban poor movement today in Benin, and our mentality is that through our innovative actions, we are trying to upgrade our slums and also contributing to the fight against climate change. Upgrading slums is contributing to climate change fight. Thank you. So there's no time to explain more than that.
Thank you so much, Antoine. I think you explained a lot in a very short period of time, and it's really great to see what Benin is doing, and especially also recognizing the challenges that are faced, I think, when, in terms of some of the really basic aspects, including like protective gear and transport that can make it difficult. But I think all of these examples have shown how organizations are persevering and getting a lot done with what they are able to access. So that closes out our celebration portion. We're going to move into reflection very quickly, and then we'll have time for discussion. But again, if you have any questions for any of the presentations or discussion questions more generally that you want to share, please put them in the chat. Now I'm going to move to some of the lead authors for the different reports and people who have been involved with the publications to give very brief overviews. Anna, I'm going to be much stricter with my IIED colleagues, I'll be honest, Anna and Camilla. So yeah, I'll turn it over to you first, Anna, to talk about the first Slum Upgrading is Climate Action publication. Thanks.
Great, thank you. I'm just going to share just a couple of slides, if I can find them. I'm not able to connect to my... Have I got sharing rights on my screen? Do you know? Sorry to... Okay, perfect, thank you. And I will be sure, I can probably take less than the time I'm allocated, to be honest. So... It's not working. Okay, I'll do it without slides. It's fine. Don't worry. Okay. Okay, so yeah, thanks for having, firstly, thanks for all those reflections from the affiliates. It's really, really useful to kind of ground some of the key lessons that I'm going to just briefly share with you over the next 5 minutes. And as Julie mentioned at the beginning of this meeting, the IIED and Cities Alliance worked with 9 of the SDI Sub-Saharan affiliates to put together a workshop back in, well, just before Christmas. And that was really reflecting on all the different types of kind of climate action that are underway at the moment. And it was a really, really full and fruitful discussion. Marcel and Nina, who led the kind of authorship of the paper that I'm going to reflect on here with the affiliates and with Cities Alliance, weren't able to make the call today, so I'm representing these lessons on their behalf. But really from that paper, and I think it's been shared in the chat already, otherwise I will share it after I finish talking, there were kind of 5 key lessons that emerged. And I think firstly, the most important lesson is that in situ slum upgrading, which obviously is something that the SDI affiliates have been doing for some time, is actually a form of climate action. And I think that's not widely accepted amongst urban or climate actors yet, but it does address climate risks, environmental issues, and socioeconomic inequalities simultaneously. And I think the further that we can advance that idea, the more opportunity we have, not only of kind of engaging traditional development actors, but also climate actors that are working in city spaces. And I think that's very clear from the presentations that we've had this morning too. Secondly, like this is the bread and butter of SDI affiliates, but the solutions that are focusing not only on upgrading informal settlements, but responding to climate change emerge from institutionalized co-production. And so that's from kind of the co-production of the data collection that happens at the local level to the co-creation of solutions, many of which have already been showcased this morning. They have the capacity to respond to climate risks and urban poverty in vulnerable settlements in a way that is contextually and locally appropriate, and to be much more impactful than something that's designed by people that are outside of informal settlements. Thirdly, and some of there's some lively chat going on about this in the messages in the chat today, but I think affiliates are demonstrating that in informal settlements and in the context of informal economies, and even in places where land tenure is insecure, there are novel opportunities for innovative solutions to climate change. That can be kind of co-produced and be responsive to urban poverty. So I guess the idea is that city stakeholders and people that are working on climate change in cities shouldn't think that they need to work against urban informality, but instead that there are lots of innovative examples of how you can work with urban informality to respond to climate change. They're not widely accepted, but the more that we can kind of document some of these examples and these interventions, I think the more scope there is for us to secure and achieve funding that can respond to climate change in informal settlements or in the context of informal economies. Fourth, I think it's clear that climate action that's locally led is more equitable, sustainable, and efficient in the long term. So we have to involve people that live in informal settlements, vulnerable communities in climate decision making if we want to reduce inequality and develop solutions to climate change that are locally appropriate, so appropriate to the context in which we are working. I think climate investments in informal settlements have the potential to respond to housing and basic service deficits and provide co-benefits if they are designed with local communities. And so all of the local interventions that have been platformed and kind of presented this morning have that potential and I think require more support. And then finally, this is the kind of, I think this, that's great. And finally, I think that the final message, and I think this is something that we need to kind of be advancing in the context of conversations with global development agencies and climate financiers, is that we need more nimble and decentralized climate finance if we're going to achieve impact at scale. There are lots of examples this morning of local interventions that work in communities or in some communities within cities. But if we want to achieve impact at scale, we need nimble, accessible climate finance that can be blended with local resources in order to be responsive at the city level. And I think with that in mind, climate finance needs to start engaging directly with informal settlements and have clear targets to deliver climate finance to informal settlements. Very little of GCF funding makes it to vulnerable or targets vulnerable informal settlements at the moment. There's a huge shift that needs to happen there. And I think there's also plenty of examples from within informal settlements, such as the Gungano Fund that was mentioned this morning. So partnerships that involve urban poor federations, as you start to think about how climate finance can be deployed locally, can demonstrate that there are already mechanisms in place that can receive climate finance and distribute it to communities across vulnerable settlements within a city. So hopefully I've come in below 5 minutes. If you want to see these kind of 5 key lessons for urban and climate stakeholders in more detail, you can see them on the final page of the report that was co-authored by the SDI affiliates and Nina, and I'll pop that in the chat if it's not already there.
Great. Thanks, Anna. You came in just at 5 minutes. And just to say, I think you highlighted part of the reason why we felt like this was an important report is that there isn't as broad recognition, I think, of the fact that slum upgrading is climate action. And so I think there was a comment in the chat from Celine also about sort of how we tell our stories. And I think that's something that we're all very conscious of is, how we make sure we communicate this well. And with that, I'm going to turn over to our second IIED presenter, which is Camila Cosinha, and she's going to talk a little bit about the second publication, which is a collection of case studies and learnings. Thanks.
Thank you, Julia, and thank you everyone for this very insightful presentation. It has been really interesting to hear them all. What I will share with you are some very quick reflections that emerged from this recent publication that is authored by SDI and IIED, by Esley, Mikel, Beth, and myself, that is called Learning from Informality, Urban Innovations for Just and Sustainable Cities, that I will just share in the chat right now. Yeah, it is. Which is a collection of cases that includes some of the stories that has been shared today, and that start by arguing, as the report that Anna just summarized, that current and future challenges, both related to inequalities and also to the climate crisis, need to be addressed with informal settlements, not against them. And that the implementation, for instance, of the UN Habitat Resolution on accelerating the transformation of informal settlements and slum needs to draw on the locally led process of transformations that are taking place. And this is what the report or the case study collection calls innovations, that it is maybe linked also to what Celine was referring in the chat about how to tell these stories. Because innovations are not always about creating something brand new. More often than not, they involve rearranging, organizing, collecting, mobilizing, reimagining, on building on what is already there, what is already exists, what the assets that already are present in informal settlements. As you can imagine, as demonstrated by the 4 presentations today, it is very difficult to capture the complexity of these cases and the depth of the stories that are behind them in short studies, in short kind of concise forms. So what the collection does is to cluster these innovations around 4 main categories that try to kind of capture the contribution of each of these initiatives to both strengthening local actors, but also to build and shape more socially just, prepared, and climate-friendly urban transformation. And what I'm going to share with you is very briefly what these 4 clusters are, and also kind of trying to connect it with some of the cases that were shared today and tell you a little bit of what else you can find there in terms of other cases. So the first cluster of innovations is about strengthening local partnerships and local leadership for transformation. We know that often innovations and transformations are about governance, about expanding and changing the ways decisions are made and the ways people and communities have a voice on these transformations. And many of the cases, both in the collection but also in today's presentations, show strategies, for instance, to strengthen youth and female leadership, or mechanisms to build direct dialogue with more formal or institutional governance structures. The presentation from CCI, for instance, from Teresia, was the emphasis on capacity building and on group mobilization, for instance, that the Tanzania Federation and many of the SDI affiliates have shown. Also, Antoine from Benin on this idea of emphasis on building an urban poor movement that also approach the governments as a partner is very much about strengthening this idea of local partnerships and kind of reshaping governance. In the report, there are more cases from partnerships around nature-based solutions, for instance, in Kenya, or even cases from Ecuador and Brazil, when like local organizations are kind of either becoming kind of guardians of areas for climate action or retrofitting buildings just to kind of transform the way the city is made through partnerships. The second cluster is about generating and advocating for community-led data and knowledge. And we know that SDA work and the Know Your City efforts are very much about generating, mobilizing, validating community data. And that was so well captured by McTavish when he was presented about the Know Your City TV and the kind of the idea of generating working papers and knowledges in the case of Zambia as a key strategy and a key innovation, and also in Benin and in many other cases for instance, around also knowledge on mobilization about mangroves restoration in Sierra Leone, or about climate vulnerability in Liberia, and many other cases that put the emphasis on data collection as a key innovation. The third cluster is about reimagining finance and legal resources. I think Shelia from Zambia gave such a beautiful example from Zimbabwe about the urban poor fund, and the report, the collection also shows other cases, both from Zimbabwe, but also Namibia and other cases around housing, around finance mobilization, etc. And the final cluster, and with this I'm closing, Judy, is about building alliances to reframe global debates and agendas, an important part of the advocacy, and the framing that Judy was sharing about like the current kind of finance landscape globally and the challenges that that's presenting. I think more than ever for this kind of solidarity building and networking to kind of find ways to retell our stories and to reframe informality. And SDI network, alongside many other networks, the Asian Coalition for Housing Rights, the Habitat International Coalition, or initiatives that are more specific, such as the roof over our heads, are really trying to do this. And I think all these cases are trying to kind of come together as a way to build that new story. Just as a final word, I would say that something that is important in the report, and that hopefully we can discuss now also in the open conversation, is the question about scalability and what is needed there to replicate and to scale up these innovations, to really realize their transformative potential and go beyond isolated cases. And I think that's a question that hopefully we can also tackle today when we have all these kind of incredible network of people that are working in so many different places. Thank you, Julia. Thank you, everyone, for the presentations.
Great. Thank you, Camilla. Okay, we have one last speaker. I'm going to ask them to be very brief. I see some questions are rolling in the chat, so that's great. If you have more questions, please add them in there. So now, for representing the SDI Secretariat and the Slum Dwellers International I don't know, I've run out of words. Okay. Network, that's the word I wanted to use. So we have Emily. Emily, should I try to say your last name? Maholo? Maholo is how I would say it, Emily. I'm not sure if I got that right. Emily is the national coordinator for the South Africa Federation of the Urban Poor. And she's going to reflect a little bit about all of the things we've heard today. Emily, are you still there? Yes.
Yes, I'm here. Hi, everyone. I'm Emily Mohosho. My surname is Mohosho. I know it's difficult, but I'm from South Africa. I'm the coordinator of FEDAP. From the discussion that was happening here, I can say, for me, I can go the route of documenting what we are doing as a network. Is a very important thing. Firstly, I can take this angle saying, why documenting innovative cases and lesson learned for the network? I can pick up on all the speakers. When I was listening, they were referring to pictures. Then I said, yeah, meaning when documenting, there are pictures. Some people, if they don't want to listen to something, but when they see a picture, they got attracted. I look at it at, I can say it's 4 angles that I pick up: that knowledge retention and transfer, learning and improvement, accountability and transparency. The last one will be capacity building. By saying knowledge retention and transfer is when we were saying the lessons that are documented, that knowledge doesn't live with an individual. It remains on the network because you can go to the documentation and refer to it what was happening. Improvement by reviewing what has been done before, what worked and what didn't work. The network can avoid repeating mistakes and build on the success, leading to more effective strategies and operation. And also we can use it for scaling and replication, because as the network, we are working on different affiliates. Then if one of the affiliates saw that this thing worked for this affiliate, then it can improve our work. And accountability and transparency. When I was looking at the accountability and transparency, I thought that when documenting our process, the outcome helps the network to demonstrate what they have done and the result that were achieved. And it's also a key for reporting. And also it can help us to share our success stories. It can help us to influence policy and also attract other partners. When I was talking about capacity building, what I was looking at is that in a network, we are now, most of the time we are talking about second tier leadership. Then when the second tier leadership came in, they will learn from what was happening in our documented work so that it can be easier for them, even when listening, they won't just hear a theory of the network is doing this, but looking at the document, they will understand exactly what is happening. And as the network, more especially most of the time, our learning as the network, we are doing through exchange programs, visiting other affiliates to learn what they are doing. But for me, to document our work is another sort of exchange program because you will be learning from others through the documentation. Then I think the evidence that this is 4 countries or 3 that they put toward us today is a very good example that because everyone was referring to the picture saying the picture shows the youth doing lollipops, then you will be excited to know what happened, where this project come from, and where's the future of this project. I think if we can make sure that we document all our work that we are doing, is a sort of a good tool of sharing even to the outside world so that they can know what we are doing. We are not hiding anything as the network. And as the network, we want more people to change their lives in the informal settlement, everyone, and also the partners that are reading the work that we are doing to come and partner with us so that we can make it more bigger and more useful to all the people in the informal settlement so that one day all the people, there is no informal settlement or there's no slums, so that our work have been embraced so that we can bring a better life to everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Emily. I think that provided an excellent conclusion to our reflection stage and really reminds us why it is important to document all of this and the potential, I think, for scaling up and sharing solutions. Okay. As always with these things, we have less time for discussion than we wanted. We're down to 10 minutes. I want to thank everyone for sticking with us so far. I had some planned questions, but I see that there are a few kind of interesting things going on in the chat. Also, if you want to raise your hand and ask a question, please feel free to raise your hand. But I wanted to maybe pick up on 2 of the questions in the chat. So I see there's a question from another name I'm not going to try to pronounce that Teresi has already started to respond to about engaging with city stakeholders about informal settlements and how to, convince different people in government, private sector, wealthier people to really engage with informal settlements and including issues around legal land ownership. And Teresia talks about the need to bring inclusive planning with different stakeholders. And I was just wondering if any of our other speakers wanted to come in about, this engaging with different stakeholders in the city and some of the challenges and some of the successes in that. I know Zimbabwe is having some connection issues, but if anyone else wants to come in. Emily, I see you unmuted.
Yes, I can try to answer, but some of the people will help me. For
Excellent.
me, when I was saying documenting information, because as the local federations, we normally share our information with local authorities, what we are doing. For me, it can help us to open doors for partnering with our local authorities, also to partnering with government so that we can work together. Sharing our information, local, you know, when sharing what you are doing in your federation, it also helps them to improve what they are doing as the local government. Because for us as the federation, we are on the ground. We don't do with theory, we are doing it practically. I think others will help me too. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Emily. Wondering if any other the colleagues working on the ground want to chime in. There's also a good question from Ernest in the chat about how do the federations ensure that the affordable housing is something that the urban poor can afford. And so, you know, some of the issues around affordability, I know this came up a lot when we had our workshop in Sierra Leone. Wondering if anyone wants to come in about that. It's quiet.
Can I say something?
Please, Tercia. Say something.
Yeah, it is affordable because the federations, for example, in Tanzania, they used to build the house incremental, and also they purchase the material in bulk so they can get the low price. And also they are the one who constructed the houses to reduce the cost. So they are the technicians. So because they are capacitated and trained to build the house and maybe to make the bricks and the roofing and everything to construct the full house. So the cost of constructions comes down and it is affordable for them. And through their revolving fund, urban poor fund, they build it incremental. Someone can build 1 room or 2 rooms, then it can repay back and take another micro loans and then construct it until they finish. So apart from that, the material also they use is a local materials that also reduce the cost of the housing that make affordable to them compared to others who say that it is affordable, but affordable for whom? But for them, it is affordable for them because they are low income earners and they call it is affordable. So this is what I want to share.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, there was a hand raised, but I also, sorry, does someone else want to come in? There was a hand raised, but it went away. Yes, it's back. I think you can unmute yourself, Rohit. Yeah.
Yes. Hi. Am I audible?
Yes, we can hear you.
Great. Hi. Thank you for this. So yeah, my question actually is an open question actually, but more on the lines of land tenure security, right? So a lot of federations are doing amazing work and also in India, right? But one of the issues that usually ends up happening is this whole spectrum of land security or tenure security is not a linear process, right? It's a much more complicated process where depending on how secure, insecure people feel, their investment in the housing is dependent on that. Their perception on how, when and what kind of evictions that can take place is also, a lot of it is dependent on that. So there are a lot of socio-political factors along with the whole titling, non-titling sort of an issue, right? So it gets more complicated from a tenure security angle. So within that uncertainty of land tenure security, how do federations really think about where and how and in what capacity to intervene, right? Like, is it clear? Like my question, yeah.
Yes, I think it's clear. I don't know if there'll be a clear answer, but we can try. No, I mean, I think the issue around that land tenure and security is something that is many times confronted with when we're talking about different types of action, including slum upgrading and climate action. I don't know if the colleagues from Zimbabwe are still on. I know they're having network issues, and I don't know. Well, if anyone wants to come in on this, I'm thinking about calling on Melanie because I don't know if McTavish is still here. Melanie, I still see you there. I don't know if you want to talk about Zambia and how you deal with issues around land tenure and security. Just thought I would try to call someone out. We'll see if it works.
Hi, Julie. Sorry, my network was a little bit shaky. Could you just go over the question?
Yeah, so it's about the issues of land tenure and land security and sort of how you work where that comes into question, recognizing that it's not always sort of one, it's not necessarily a difference between definitely having land tenure or not. It can be a lot of gray areas, but how can you work, on the ground where these issues persist?
Okay, so I think with the federation process, data collection comes in very handy. So we would go into a community, organize and collect data. And then that data is then used as a tool to engage with the local authorities. So for instance, if a community is not recognized, then we would use that to engage with them and to see that these are the number of people that are affected. And in most cases, you find that the people that are affected by the lack of tenure security they still vote, and then the government still expects to receive their votes, but they don't want to provide the services. So we also look at issues of social justice and that sort of thing when we move into these communities. So that's how we address that.
Great. Thanks, Melanie. I know one of the things I was shocked about when we were in Freetown is that although people don't have land tenure security, the government still expects them to pay taxes on their dwellings, which was, a tricky, in one way, obviously, recognition of this housing, but still not giving tenure. Celine, I see your hand is raised.
Talk about the political dimension of this whole process, whether you're talking of affordability or security, and therefore what we've seen over time is organizations of the poor that are organized and got their act together are in a better position to therefore negotiate with their local governments and other local actors and influence that process. And therefore, the weight of this process is a lot on the internal work the federation has to do. And then once you are strong internally, your capacity to deal with the outside improves, whether it's your local government, whether it's people like you and Cities Alliance coming into the city, or, any other actor. And I think this is the pressure I was trying to put back on the federation. What do we have to do as the federation to tell our story in a way that actually addresses these more complex issues and not these sweet little things? I collected plastic bottles, or I grew some trees and I grew something. And that is not the federation. And so that is what frustrates me, because they know that. Like, while we are talking, 9,000 people have been evicted in Nigeria, in Lagos. And I think those are the issues that need to be brought upfront, because we are dealing with developers who are coming and wanting to grab our land every single day. And so by planting trees, we're not going to solve that problem. Yes, partly, yes, it's a nice way to open the door so the city engages with you, but not losing sight of the big picture, right? Yeah.
Great. Thanks, Celine. Yeah, I think there are a lot of much larger pressures on, and it can be really difficult, I think, to address those. I see Ernest has his hand up. Yes, Ernest.
Okay, thank you so much for the opportunity. And I'm from Ghana, but I'm having my studies in Germany. And I have my studies on urban housing. They have the strategies of the urban poor in meeting their housing needs. So I have a question to the speakers about the payments for their housing. So is it in the way that they pay outrightly for the house or they pay installment? Because one of the challenges of the urban poor in Ghana is in regards to their housing is that they have to pay for rent. Rent payment in Ghana is an advance payment. Yes, and so that is one of the major challenges for most of the urban poor. So do members of these federations have, like, do they help, the federations help members to pay for their rent in installment, or they have to pay in outrightly? I mean, with the affordable housing scheme that they have available to these people.
Great. Thanks, Ernest. I don't know if colleagues from Benin or Zambia or Zimbabwe want to answer about how the payments work for housing. Sheila? Your hands up. You're breaking up. Yes, now I can hear you.
Okay, sorry about the network inspection from.
I know.
Sorry, you can hear me? Hello.
We can hear you.
Okay. Rentals are always not affordable with informal dwellers, whether they are paid a year in advance or even on a monthly basis. This is the reason why some people end up occupying land where they do not necessarily pay rent, but where they can use it.
Sheila, we're losing you. I think we lost you, actually. So you're not in the corner of my screen anymore. Now you're back. Now there's two Sheilas.
So this is why I emphasize Slum Upgrading. Because you can build incrementally and you don't have to build on your own. You are using collective savings, collective ideas, collective labor to be able to produce your own house, but at a pace that you can afford. It is also where to support
Sorry, you're breaking. It's very difficult to hear you.
What I'll do is I'll put my comments in the chat. We are forward.
Do you want to type in the chat? I think that might be easier. Okay. Difficult way to end because we also are over time by 4 minutes. Zimbabwe, I hope you can hear me to put your information in the chat. I do want to take this opportunity to thank everyone for joining. I want to thank all of our presenters for everything that you've shared and all of your reflections. I also just wanted to take opportunity, hopefully they're both still on the call, to two people who were behind the scenes but didn't speak. One is Esley from the Secretariat, SDI Secretariat. She did an amazing job pulling this together. And the other is Joanna from GIZ, my GIZ colleagues who were instrumental, especially with the second publication, which was part of their program, their Prayer Learning Exchange series. So thanks everyone who joined. We really appreciate it. I hope this gave everyone a chance to celebrate and learn more about some projects that are happening on the ground, but also we recognize and try to reflect on the fact that there are a lot of difficulties that are happening in terms of finance, in terms of the politics, in terms of the reality that we face, I think, in trying to have meaningful action on the ground. But I also think there's a really incredible examples of how much that communities are investing themselves in having sustainable and resilient solutions. Oh, I'm seeing some more cameras on. So thanks everyone for joining. It was extremely successful. I didn't even know we hit a limit of 100 participants. So if you had colleagues who weren't able to join, we will put the recording online and we will share it. So, we do encourage people, again, to take a look at the publications, continue to engage on the conversation. Please reach out if you'd like more information about any of the great work that's happening on the ground. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Oh, shit, I'm leaving the wrong call.
Thank you. Bye.